We are happy to announce that this episode of the SWW show is partially brought to you by Humble Bundle. Well, not really. We are part of the Humble Bundle referral program, and we just wanted to say that if you like really cheap games and maybe helping charity pending the Humble thing going on, all you have to do is go to humblebundle.com/partner equals SWW. That's right, humblebundle.com/partner equals SWW. And you just do your normal stuff, and it just kind of helps us get a couple bucks here and there. Maybe it helps AJ get his lights, maybe it's Mike camera, maybe we actually pay Corey for helping us out. But again, if you're going to go buy games anyway, it might be worth checking out. Then I will get it started.
Sounds good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to one of these interview episodes of the SWW show. I'm Mike, and today with me a special guest from, I guess not too far, relatively speaking, around the world. To get us started, do you mind introducing yourself and the game we're here to talk about?
Hey, I'm Ben Swain, commonly known as Swains in whatever games I play. And the game we'll be talking about today is DEATHWATCHERS, a game I've been working on for, I'd say around about a year now. Yeah.
Perfect. To get us started, do you mind introducing, so what is DEATHWATCHERS, if someone didn't know?
Oh. Okay, so DEATHWATCHERS is my take on a spot the difference style horror co-op game. Sounds very weird. It doesn't sound like it's going to be fun at all, but it's quite fun. It's essentially you go into haunted locations, things start to change, and you literally just have to find the differences and spot them, while avoiding being killed or, stabbed and various other things by demonic entities and whatnot. That's the general premise.
So immediately, let's walk through that. So where does one come up with an idea like this, right? So it's the way I saw you is because one of the things I don't know is like different like kind of interesting co-op games, and it is kind of interesting because obviously we've seen, I think a lot like this style of game kind of has been big over the last few years, especially like streamers and stuff. Was there something in there that you're like, hey, I wanted to get my twist on the market? Was there some sort of like something I feel like they're missing? Like what kind of led you into thinking of kind of walking down this project?
So the big inspiration is the game called I'm on Observation Duty, and the guy who made that I don't know where he got it from. I'm assuming he got the idea from someone else, so it was just his own idea. But there's a game called I'm on Observation Duty, and the general gameplay with that is you are just observing cameras, and then things change, and you log them, and they're generally creepy things, weird entities, or he calls them anomalies. I just call them events. And me and my friend comes around to my house, I'd say like once a month, we watch horror movies and play horror games. And we tried I'm on Observation Duty. We were just sat there, and we've both been game developers for a long time. I've been a game dev for like 15 years now. And we were just sat there, and I was like, bro, this is such a simple idea for a game. Not in a bad way, just in this is such a cool and simple idea. I could make what I think is a better version of it. I'm an Observation Duty is an awesome game, 100%. But what I think is a better version of it, in a very short period of time. So we did that. We made Deathwatch, which is the original game. You just sat at a desk, and you've got computer screens, and you just observe scary events while trying not to die because there's entities in your room. And that's where that came from. That was the main idea. We just sat there and I was like, bro, this is such a cool, simple little idea. I could make this in like a week. And I did. We started, I think we wrote pretty much the base of the game in about a week or two. And then everything else was just piecing it together over the next couple of months. And that was it.
That's real fast and kind of. So how did this so as you said originally, like the original one was like you kind of, it sounds like more like on a static screen, but obviously this game you're walking around a bit more. Did I understand that correctly, or was the initial prototype still kind of wandering around a bit that I misunderstood?
No, so the original one was just essentially So you are actually sat at a desk, and you have two monitors in front of you. Your left monitor is your event logger. That's where you choose the room, choose the event type, and then the middle monitor, the main one, is the camera one. You go on it and you can watch the cameras. And the idea was just to basically take the I'm an observation duty style game just to what we thought was the next level. With the fact that you are actually, because in I'm an observation duty, you're not actually a player character. You're just watching just cameras. That's it. There's nothing else. Whereas with Deathwatch, you are present on the location inside a room. You're sat at a chair. You've got the computer screens, and you've got a flashlight, and you can look around the room, and the room is pitch black. So you can be chilling, just looking at screens. Then all of a sudden you're hearing stuff going on behind you, and you've got to use your flashlight. And the fact that you can't move makes it it can make you very uncomfortable, make you very anxious, because you sat there.
You want to so I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to add 10,000 more work here. This to me is like very much that sounds like a very fun, almost VR-y premise also of just like, especially if you're in in real life.
You can play it. You can play it in VR. I added VR to it.
So okay, so yeah, you just have probably that same image I do of like you just sitting there, and I'm like, see, to me the way to make it more fun to me is like, and again, practically there's no way. But like, could you imagine if like you found a way to like strap like your arms on the chair in real life, so you had this extra level of that tension? Like I feel like there's a lot of fun like real life twists you could do to this type of experience.
That's what's really cool about it, because when you're playing a game, generally you are sat at a desk, and in the game you're also sat at a desk. So in terms of VR, because you don't walk around, you can literally just sit at your desk, pick up the flashlight, pick up the monitor, and move things around, and it's quite. I don't know. It feels quite nice, and then you just chill, and all of a sudden you're just hearing bangs and knocks and weird things talking to you behind you, and then you've got like the amount is like every 3 to 5 seconds, a hunting entity will appear in your room, and if you don't scare it away with your flashlight, it will kill you. There's no time limit on the level. The time limit is purely the entity. So instead of actually just adding like a generic timer, you have a battery on your flashlight, and every time you scare away the entity, it takes away a third. So you get to use your flashlight to scare it away 3 times, and then on the 4th time, you will die. So you have to log enough events.
So then you just said though, correct me if I'm wrong. So it actually comes 3 to 5-ish seconds. I'm assuming you have some time before it actually kills you. That means then.
No, 3 to 5 minutes between.
Oh, minutes. Okay, that makes way more sense. Okay. That I misunderstood that because I was in my head.
That'd be really quick.
Very fast turnaround.
15-second gameplay loop. No.
That seems like okay.
I think the longest you can have a round is about 20 minutes. But most people do.
Is that kind of what you wanted always? Did you? Because obviously we're in this era, I feel like, where everything's doing these like short burst kind of stuff. Is that kind of you were like, okay, this is a good kind of, you go in, do it once, and like maybe do it again, maybe you don't, but like you always picture this tighter window?
Absolutely, yeah. The game, I'd say most people, if they want to do all of the levels, can do it in about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours, because they will fail. They definitely will fail at some point. Mm-hmm. And because of the game, the way I like this kind of game to be and the way I programmed it is it's completely random. Mm-hmm. So everything that happens is random. There's nothing. When I mean that, I mean in terms of how the events happen, the order they happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the entity that hunts you, again, completely random. That kind of stuff. A lot of people who play it, I'd say most of them don't just play the levels once. It's sort of. If you ever played like Super Meat Boy and you failed a level and you feel like the level bested you and you wanted to beat it, that's kind of the sensation you get. You're like, damn it, I need to win, I need to do it again. And then it's fun, and it's because it's not so. It's I don't know. It's what's the word? I can't think of the word. But basically, you get that feeling where you're just like, damn it, I need to beat it. I'm not letting the game best me. And then you go back and do it. And there's multiple difficulties as well. So the hell mode, which is the hardest difficulty, you actually have a charge on your flashlight that goes down when you have it on. So you only get like 20 seconds of flashlight. So you've really got to time it well. And there's like more rooms and stuff. But yeah, I think most people definitely play each level more than once. But that the general idea was just to have 15-20 minutes per round. And then people just blast through it. Yeah. That was
So I'm
the
curious
idea.
because you obviously brought up this natural comparison to Super Meat Boy from like the level you kind of want to go back and kind of like that mastery kind of mental part. But obviously this is a
Hmm.
game with like a very random seed to it every time.
Yeah.
Did you think of, or I don't know if there is any plans in the work of allowing a player to be like, yeah, I understand there's a random seed, but I really want to master it this one challenge or this one kind of thing, or is that almost you like strip out too much of the like unknown factor of like a horror game?
Yeah, if I added that kind of stuff to it, I feel like it'd remove what makes these kinds of games special because you've no idea what's going to happen. And if I, you know, put some guides, if I put more guidelines into that, I feel like it would sort of step away from what makes it a little bit, unique. Like if you're playing, I think most people could play the first level, for example, 10 to 15 times, and it still be quite different each time you play it because there's so many events. I think each level has around about 300 to 400 different events. And I'd say so if you play just one round,
You
you'd
only
maybe only
see some.
see, yeah, and obviously. Yeah, and there is another game mode I added just called chill mode, where basically there's no hunting entity, so you can just play for an hour or two on one level and essentially see every event in that level. And by the end of the level, the location is just, there's blood everywhere, there's bodies everywhere, there's all kinds of stuff happening, that kind of stuff. So if people wanted to, you know, not 100% a level per se, since you can't technically 100% it, but if someone wanted to see what most of the events in that location look like, they can just play the chill mode.
Right. That's very interesting. So with a chill mode then, because to you is that just to like get people so they want to experience everything, like, or is there some other kind of? Because yeah, that's interesting. Of because we've seen this trend of like non-violent mode in games, where like so the
Mm.
chill mode in something like this that's a very like systemic and random games. Interesting,
The-
because it's like
the-
I'm very curious. The like, what are you kind of picturing of the like? Why would people play that mode? Because I'm just that one I'm a little intrigued by.
yeah, the that one was so me as a dev, I'm quite I really want to get in as much stuff for the community as possible. And the chill mode wasn't originally in the game. I just had quite a few people asking for it, so I just quickly put it in. And that it wasn't really something I intended on putting in. It wasn't something I thought about because I like the idea of the entity hunting you. It's essentially the whole premise of the game. But quite a few people asked for it, so I just quickly put it in. Some people, I guess, some people. It is quite stressful when you're playing and you're hearing these sounds, and it gets quite intense. You wouldn't think it would, but it does. It gets quite intense and it can make you feel very anxious, knowing that something could potentially be watching you and there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe your flashlights run out. It can get quite, some people may just want to avoid that anxiety and just play just to spot stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like I always find there is definitely like validity to these modes. It's just always interesting because like probably the only currency in mine is of like the time of to do something else in these games. But like I've
Mm.
always found, especially in their separate modes, it like really only adds stuff to them, and that's why I've noticed with the ritual, especially in games like, and here's a separate mode. It's like okay, short of the argument of I'd rather dev spend X more time here, like it didn't really minus anything from your end of the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what can you talk about this? I'm kind of curious. Obviously, we've mentioned some games that you've thought of while making this. Was there any other media or something you kind of pulled from while thinking of this experience that you kind of drew you to it, or kind of while you were designing it?
Honestly, no. I was mainly driven to do these games. So, throughout my years of making games, I've had many, many game ideas. And a lot of which I've never really had the time to fulfill or even get started due to other, entanglements. And then time goes by and I'll see a game that is literally the idea that I had at some point. Not that someone's stolen it, someone's just had the same idea as me. And then it does really well and it's really successful. And I'm like, oh, damn it, why did I not just make that game? Um, and with Deathwatch, I knew that the next iteration would be someone would do essentially this game in co-op with friends. Um, I mean, I just wanted to be. I wanted to do it first, essentially. and I just really love the Spot the Difference style game. I find it really fun, and I just didn't want it to be another game where I had the idea to do this, because I had the idea to make this co-op in the original Deathwatch, but we didn't add it in, and I was just like, someone's going to beat me to this, and it's really just going to annoy me again if I don't do it myself. So that was the main driving factor.
I do always
Which sounds stupid, but
we all have that drive of like even the level of like, because like especially if it's a very specific idea. Like I'm not like it. I'm very much of the opinion of like even if I had this idea, someone else probably had a similar idea, but it's always like your vision of it or your twist. It's kind of like when you're playing a game, you're
yeah,
like, I wish it had this one feature, or like you're like I want to like it's always like I want that one, just because like there's always the ultimate joke of we all want to make a game that we just want to play forever. Like it very much feels like that sometimes.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. The one downside to this is I'm putting a game on hold that I've been working on for a while. It's a game that it's very important to me. It's a game that I really want to finish, and I will do eventually. But I just knew that eventually someone would make this idea that's in my head, not exactly the same, of course, and it's not, they haven't stole it or anything. It's just people have similar ideas, and that's perfectly fine. But I would have just been annoyed. I mean, there's a game that's called Spectator, and I'm pretty sure the guy who made that game negatively reviewed Deathwatch, which I thought was a bit weird. But yeah, he made Spectator, which is essentially just an I'm an Observation Duty clone. And then he made a sequel to it called Spectator 2, and that is just Spectator 1 with co-op. And again, like I guess that either he would do it or someone else would do that, over a year ago, and then I saw that he announced Spectator 2, and I'm like, God, I'm so glad I started making Deathwatchers.
Yeah, because even there is that level of like, because like it is always interesting now that you bring up the other point there too of like, because when people see the outside of like, oh, two games get announced and two films get announced that are very similar tops of time, you're like, oh, they must have known about it. It's like, no, it's just there's so many people who get so many things that like statistically, there's probably someone out there with a very similar idea to yours. It's just a matter of how
Absolutely.
it's executed and when it comes out. It's not actually like, oh, we all copy each other. It's like, no, really, people just have similar ideas or similar influences.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you do occasionally get someone who has genuinely just stolen an idea, but that is very, very rare.
Happens, but it's just not common.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Like that guy who made Spectator, he just obviously, I'm assuming he probably liked Time and Observation Duty as well and wanted to make his own version. He didn't steal that idea. He didn't steal Deathwatch's idea. He just wanted to make a game, and he made a game. You know what I mean?
No, and that totally makes sense. So. I'm curious because as we're talking, there's a demo out on Steam and you release very soon. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious immediately, because obviously internally you probably have some friends play it or people kind of playing and testing it. But how has it been kind of with the demo out there and kind of that feedback and kind of how it adjusted maybe how you're finishing the experience?
So with the demo, no matter how much I test with myself and friends, just no matter how much I test, and some bugs, some little niggles always get through, and there's just it can be quite frustrating. There was a couple of bugs right at the start that I just have never seen before, and I'm like, what the hell? How is that? What is that? And then I had to quickly patch those in. But for the most part, I've had really nothing but positive feedback, and most people have said they really enjoy the game. And they're really looking forward to the full release. Some people have sent in quite a few tickets for bugs, which is great, which is what I really need because I've fixed most of them now, but the more the better. But I'd say for the most part it's been positive. Next Fest was okay. It didn't do as well as I was hoping.
I was talking to a few devs and I did a few of these interviews this week. I'm curious and you don't have to share your exact wish list numbers. Were they fundamentally down for you from the expectations, or kind of what did that look like kind of from a what you expected?
I think my expectation in my head was around about 5 to 10,000 wish lists, which is what I had in my head. But the thing is, the fault is really on me. I done goofed with the marketing at this point because most of my marketing doesn't start for about a week, and I've paid a lot of money for the marketing to start in about a week. And the reason being is I did the same with Deathwatch, because the main source of marketing for devs like myself will always be content creators. Absolutely, there's just no two ways around it, and people really need to focus on that. So I've paid a lot of money to try my best to get my game to as many content creators as possible, and really focus on people that like this kind of game, people who have viewers that like this kind of game, and hopefully get a nice little snowball effect on release. But yeah, Next Fest wasn't anywhere near as good as I was expecting. I mean, there was over 2,000 games in it this time, whereas there was there was around about 1,000 last time. And I think Valve really need to put some limitations on the kind of games that actually can partake. I mean, there's some games, some that are absolutely massive that were in Next Fest this time around. You know what I mean? Some games are potentially even double. Go on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, 'cause I remember before, isn't Next for something asterisks of like you can only do one or something like that too? Like there's some sort of like you have to choose when it is.
Yeah. They originally there wasn't, but now there's a cap where you can only have one per project now. Yeah, I don't. I think they should really make it so that either it's indie only, or have an alternate fest where there's one for everyone and then there's one for actual indies. And I know a lot of the companies can be classed as indie, but when they're getting published by Microsoft and they're essentially AA games, I don't know. I don't.
Like there's this weird line about that where yeah, it's super weird. Like the term indie, I feel like we've adopted the term indie in the same way the films have now, where at this point indie is just like low to mid budget, like it's just a
Yeah.
budget threshold or like a look
Hmm.
independent of who's backing said budget or said look.
Yeah. Indie in my head is someone like myself or a team of 3 to 4 friends who are basically funding a project of their own with their own money, and that's what indie is to me in my head. It's not a company worth a couple of $1 million. You know what I mean?
Like
But
so, correct me if I'm wrong. Then your argument would be that you're saying even these like quote indies that are now have made a few successful games, even then like it isn't true indie in that sense anymore. Is what you're kind of
I
saying there?
mean, I guess, but no, not really, because they are. I mean, I guess at that point, if where they've made several $1 million and they're actually a company with lots of staff, that's where there's quite a weird, definition. I would still say they are definitely indie companies because the guy. I mean, for example, if one dude made a game, he made, let's say 10, $20 million off of it. And now he has staff. He's got a small team, 10, 20 people making the next project or working on the previous one. He was an indie dev when he made that original game. And even
You
though he
found
now
the
still has,
you found the best
yeah,
like line to kind of like we're all like where do we treat that? But I think we like that may be great, but I think we all agree good example being like Nexon last year with like Dave the Diver. We're all like we like that game, but like we're like this shouldn't really be an indie game because you're backed
no.
by a
Yeah.
multi-$100 million corporation if you needed the money.
Yeah, what is it? The one who owns Asmodee, what they called? The, is it a Chinese company? Embracer? It's Embracer, right?
Is it Embracer or
I
is it
think it's
Tencent?
he's one of them. Yeah, he's one
Yeah,
of those two.
it's
Yeah,
one
and
of
I
the
mean
big
they're
conglomerates.
multi-billion. Exactly. Yeah, they own so much and they have so much under their umbrella. How the hell is that getting counted as an indie project? Because it most certainly isn't. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the stuff where I think like I have no problem with that something like best debut Richie Man stuff, but like that's when I the stuff I go like it should be pretty clear you're not an indie team if you're owned by a corporation. Like that to me is like the
Absolutely.
cleanest of the lines, where the rest of this is like
Yeah.
more of a nuance argument.
Yeah. Definitely. 100%. Yeah. It's not. It's a very hard thing to make a very specific judgment on, because there's a lot going on. But yeah, when it comes to stuff like Day of the Diver, for especially that is not, to me, nowhere near is that an indie game. I don't know. I mean, I think everyone should get the chance, even big companies, to utilize Valve's framework and Next Fest and stuff like that. I think there's a bit of a line where it's just a bit mean to single out companies, but then there's also, but then it just feels a bit unbalanced for people who are funding a project with a salary. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to
It's such a like hard landscape, and that's like and to me
yeah.
the argument goes one of two ways. Is how you always end these arguments, right? Is either these are labels for a reason, and like that's historically what they were, Or the
Yeah.
argument then is these labels don't matter, but obviously they do matter because we're making a point about them still. Like so, then you start getting this
Yeah,
really weird
absolutely.
line of like either gonna make a point of like none of these labels matter, or like great, but then you go back to the old problem of Jim Tripwire just 99% of the time bulbs up.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
always
it's
a
very.
very fun. As we're talking, you come out in like 3-ish, 4 weeks. I'm
Oh God,
curious.
don't remind me. I'm
I was gonna
stressed
say,
enough as it is.
I was gonna ask how's that been? How is these final few weeks? Kind of as you said, you've been bug squashing. I'm assuming at this point it's less content delivery and more like bug and stability and testing. How has this been? Kind of how you feel kind of leading up to this run up.
Yeah, it's definitely mostly bug stuff right now. The levels are ready. The gameplay loop is ready. The only one thing I forgot to add in, and I've just genuinely forgot to add it in, is the bloody achievements. So I need to put in the achievements. I've decided on what they are. I just haven't actually implemented the code for them. But that's one of the. But that's very easy to do. I'll do that eventually. But yeah, for the most part, it is genuinely just fixing bugs that people send in or fixing bugs that I find, and then adding in a couple of little pieces that I wanted to add in prior to release. I really want, the game releases with quite a good amount of content, and I just want it to be as smooth as possible. I know obviously that goes without saying, but those first couple of days, that first day especially, are essential. I mean, I don't know if you saw Body Cam when that came out 2 weeks ago, and you couldn't even join a game, and then it was on mostly negative for like a couple of days. With multiplayer games, that's very stressful, which is why I'm glad it's peer-to-peer, because most people will just be connecting to friends. There's no
That's
dedicated servers or anything like that.
Ask that question. So you're doing peer to peer versus like some sort of dedicated server.
Yeah, with this kind of game, there's no need to do dedicated servers. Peer-to-peer will work just fine. It's not a competitive game. People aren't facing off against each other. They are on a team, always on a team. I do have plans for another game mode in the future that won't be just team-based. But again, even then, peer-to-peer would be perfectly fine. Everything is done on the server's end anyway, so you can't really cheat. And even then, why the hell would you want to cheat in this kind of game? Do you know what I mean?
Even if you cheat, like my opinion is always because whenever I make games, my opinion is always for non-competitive stuff, right? Or even like single player stuff. I go, if you want to cheat yourself, as long as it doesn't break my stuff like on a server level, I really don't care
Yeah.
if you cheat yourself. Gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I've been towards like in single player games, I will save files in a more open format. 'Cause I go, if you want to go open this up, be my guest. Like you might break the experience yourself, and I'm not fixing that. But like you could go try to break this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're not wrong. If it's competitive, obviously that's a completely different ball. But with this, yeah, just someone wants to cheat, man, go ahead. It's like the saving is encoded, but it won't be too hard for anyone to just you know get it open and change it.
Like obviously we're not saying leave something dumb and open in that kind of public stuff, but like I'm convinced that like a lot of stuff it's like go let them kind of if someone wants to go have fun or try to learn the stuff like what's the worst that happens like on a fundamental
Yeah.
level it's like oh they now do more damage or their flash is long you're like okay but like they're messing with experience obviously they're enjoying it and that's kind of what we want out of it like it's always this weird line especially like games where we've made it now where it's like oh a lot of times it's this more open medium where like yeah we kind of give you the ability to go change it we're like it's very interesting because like film if you watch a film you don't really get an option to go like I want to go tweak this part of the scene like you don't really get to do
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I guess it's like when you were younger and you were playing Vice City or San Andreas, and you did the good old up down left right LB L1 L whatever the cheat codes. It's just if someone wants to do that and it's not negatively impacting other players, then they can just do what they want.
Hmm. So yeah, but yeah, the game as we were talking is Death Watchers comes out. Oofta, this is very soon for you. And again, sorry, reminding you, July 12th, 2024. Do you
God,
know?
it's so close.
I was like, did you have like a price in mind at this point? Is that still kind of be worked out on the Steam backend?
I'm not really too sure, to be honest. I think around about $10 or something like that, or $12. It's just anywhere around that ballpark. The game does have a lot of content. The two game modes that come with the game provide you with quite a lot of gameplay to go through. Because when each game, so if you play the first level in the primary mode and then play it in the classic mode, you get completely different events and the way. So the classic game mode is essentially how the first game played. you know, where you're static at a table and you can't move, and then there's the new one where you walk around like do ghost hunting and stuff. But yeah, I think around about between $8 and $12 or $8 and $15, but I think I'm going to put it around about $12 or something like that. I'll probably put it on a good discount on release as well. I don't like overcharging.
Actually, I'm curious, and feel free to push back on this one. Do you have any, like, because obviously you're doing peer-to-peer, is there any, like, upkeepy type costs for you then at this point? Or is it kind of like, because it's peer-to-peer, unless you do some sort of different mode, like, it's kind of like, as people have it, it's more of a, like, the static cost of making it, any, like, servers or anything to deal with?
Yeah, so there's essentially no upkeep payments on my end at this point. If I was using dedicated servers, I definitely would be, but since I'm not, I just it's essentially how it works is Unit is netcode. You use the Steam relay servers. Well, it's just called Steam. I don't know if it's the matchmaking or if it's just Steam. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway,
Yeah, when networking, Steam. One of the things that
there's just so many names.
There's so many names, and like finding
there is.
sometimes is the worst thing in the world.
Because I think the matchmaking is actually the skill-based matchmaking thing. I can't remember. I can't remember which one I use, but it's essentially a relay server. You know, you connect to your friend via Steam. So when you refresh the lobbies, those are Steam lobbies. Those are actually the game lobbies. And then when you click connect, it gets the Steam lobby information, then connects to the game server that's on the player's computer. And that's how it works. And then obviously when you're playing the game, you are playing from your game to the player's game. There's nothing going in between you and the player at that point. It's just it's your game to their game. Sorry, your game as a client to their game as a host, and that's it. But the Steam stuff is just relay servers, and they come free essentially, which is great.
Who are of old enough age where your back starts hurting, think of like when you're playing old Call of Duty games and then someone would leave and like the entire server would hitch up. That's peer to peer.
Yeah.
Like that's always fun because that was I don't know if you played those old games, whatever. Where I just remember that's my experience. First time I was like, oh, this is what people mean by like not dedicated servers. Of like someone would leave like Modern Warfare 2 and like the entire game would freeze until it like chills a new host.
Yeah, until it'd migrate. Yeah, I remember that kind of stuff. I mean,
technology's way better now these days, at least.
Yeah, it's all dedicated now, which is awesome. So it's how it should. For competitive games, you definitely need dedicated servers. It's like 100%.
All right, we've made it a lot better. But yeah, so we said the game is Death Watchers. Go wishlist it now on Steam. There is still a demo up. Will that demo stay up, or is that going to be taken down before launch?
No, I think I'll just keep it up, to be honest. I mean, I might take it down before launch, but I don't feel that seems a bit. I don't know. That doesn't seem right to me. So I'll just keep it up. Yeah.
So yeah, the game is Death Watchers. You are Swain Games. Anywhere else we should be sending people to go check out you or your work?
No, not really. Just if you want to ask any questions about the game, jump in the Discord, which is on the Steam page, and ask away. I'll try the demo. Yeah, awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for talking to me today, and best of luck as you have a long time until release and try to keep up by this.
A very long time. I'm so stressed about it, but I can't wait. Nice one, buddy. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. Well, thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Bye, mate. Goodbye. Have a good day.
The SWW Show and all of its affiliate podcasts are podcast by me, Mike Maroney, and AJ Losi, sometimes by contributors, including Corey King. You can follow the SWW Show on social media at the SWW Show, or sooner or later you go to patreon.com/SWW to help us out. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day.